Long ago, in a land surrounded by mountains and rivers, there existed a kingdom named Arlion. Its name traveled far and wide, carried by merchants, travelers, and even spies from distant lands. The kingdom was known for its strength, its disciplined army, and above all its ruler King Arman. He was a king who had never known defeat. Every battle he fought ended in victory, every enemy he faced bowed to his strategy, and every neighboring kingdom feared his name. King Arman was not a cruel man, nor was he a tyrant. He loved the kingdom and believed deeply in its greatness. His advisors often praised him, and his generals admired his brilliance on the battlefield. Yet, despite all this power, the king carried a secret within himself, a constant worry that victory alone was not enough to secure his legacy. For him, greatness was measured in lands conquered, battles won, and enemies subdued. Every year the kingdom grew larger. Villages were added to the map, castles rose where there was only empty land, and taxes were collected from far and wide. The treasury overflowed with gold, jewels, and artifacts brought from defeated lands. To the outside world, Arlion appeared invincible. Its banners fluttered in the wind, its soldiers marched with precision, and its people followed their king without question. But inside the kingdom, not all was as perfect as it seemed. The people began to tire. The farmers worked longer hours, planting crops that often failed due to exhaustion. The soldiers trained relentlessly, leaving no time for family or rest. The merchants grew restless, burdened by taxes and restrictions placed upon trade. And yet, King Arman saw none of this. Or perhaps he chose not to see it. Victory had always blinded him to the cost of winning. In the palace, the king sat upon his golden throne, a figure of authority and pride. His advisors bowed as he entered, each carrying messages, plans, and reports of progress. The historian spoke gently, listened to them, cared for them, led not only with strength but with understanding. A kingdom does not thrive on gold alone. It thrives on the hearts of those who dwell within it. King Arman dismissed the historian, believing him to be overly cautious. Yet, as months passed, he began to notice subtle changes. Soldiers deserted not out of fear but fatigue. Farmers refused to work beyond their needs. Merchants began leaving for neighboring kingdoms where life felt lighter and freer. And when rebellion finally came, it did not come from the borders. It came from within. No army invaded. No enemy marched upon the gates. Instead, the people who once cheered him silently withheld their support. The generals who once obeyed without question now hesitated. The treasury, though full of gold, could not buy the loyalty that had faded from their hearts. King Arman faced the most painful battle of his life, one he could not fight with armies or strategy. He faced the consequences of neglecting the very people who had made his victories possible. His kingdom, so carefully built through conquest and war, began to crumble silently. The walls remained strong, the castles stood tall, but the lifeblood of the kingdom, its people, had withdrawn. In the end, King Arman lost his throne not on the battlefield, but in the court of his own people. He realized too late that he had mastered the art of victory, but forgotten the art of leadership. The historian's words echoed in his mind. A kingdom that wins every war but loses its people loses everything. King Arman spent his final days walking through the empty streets of Arlion. He saw deserted marketplaces, tired soldiers resting against walls, and children who no longer played. He remembered the warning of the historian, and a deep sorrow settled in his heart. One advisor, a wise man who had served the kingdom for decades, spoke cautiously. "Your Majesty, the people are growing weary. The army is stretched thin. Perhaps we should consider a period of peace," he suggested. King Arman frowned, his brow furrowed in irritation. "Peace is for the weak. A kingdom grows strong only through victory. Do not speak to me of rest or compromise." He turned, dismissing the advisor with a flick of his hand. The man bowed low and left, his heart heavy with worry. Despite warnings, the king continued his campaigns. He expanded borders, defeated rival kingdoms, and celebrated with grand feasts in the palace. Yet, with every victory, something subtle but crucial slipped further away: the loyalty and happiness of his people. They followed him, yes, but the spark in their eyes faded. Obedience replaced enthusiasm, and fear replaced admiration. One winter, King Arman called for the kingdom's historian, an elderly man known for recording the rise and fall of empires. The historian entered the royal court, carrying a large scroll and an ink-stained quill. His eyes were wise, filled with the knowledge of ages, and his steps were slow but deliberate. "Your Majesty," the historian said, bowing deeply, "I have come to record your reign, as is my duty." King Arman smiled proudly. "Record that I am the greatest king this land has ever seen. Record that no battle has been lost under my command." His voice echoed across the marble halls. The historian's expression remained calm. "Your victories are known, Your Majesty. But may I walk through the kingdom before I record its history?" he asked respectfully. The king, curious, agreed. He allowed the historian to leave, though he expected the man to return with praises of glory and triumph. Days passed. The historian traveled across Arlion, observing cities, villages, and countryside. He spoke with farmers, merchants, soldiers, and even the ordinary townsfolk. He saw walls and castles, streets and marketplaces, and yet he noticed something the king could not: a quiet weariness, a subdued life, and a lack of joy. When the historian returned, he bowed before the king and spoke softly. "Your Majesty, I have seen your kingdom. It is strong. It is wealthy. It is disciplined. But I did not hear laughter in the villages. I did not see hope in the eyes of the people. Your kingdom is powerful, yes, but it is hollow." The king's face darkened. "Hollow," he repeated. "Hollow. I have never lost a battle. I have expanded our lands beyond measure. I have brought glory to Arlion. How can you say it is hollow?" The historian stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. "Strength is measured not only by victories or conquered lands, Your Majesty. True strength lies in the hearts of your people. A kingdom can have walls of stone and rivers of gold, but if its people do not care for it, the kingdom cannot endure." King Arman's pride flared. "My people fear me, they obey me, and they follow my orders. What more do you want from them?" "What you call fear is not loyalty," the historian replied. "And obedience is not love. A kingdom that wins every war but ignores the well-being of its people is a kingdom that will crumble, even without an enemy at its gates." The king's anger turned to confusion. "Then what am I to do?" he asked, his voice low and uncertain.